For thousands of years, humans ruled the planet. Their hubris would lead to their downfall. A man-made virus gave race to an intelligent species of apes. For humans, it had the reverse effect, robbing them of their intelligence and ability to speak. As ape and human struggled to coexist, one ape rose up and sacrificed everything for his kind. His name was Caesar.
Welcome to the Live a Meaningful Story podcast, where we analyze stories and films that help us make sense of life. We are four friends with backgrounds in storytelling, filmmaking, teaching, and narrative therapy. Join us on our quest towards telling and living our stories more meaningfully. I'm Derek Hatch.
My name is Nick Natal.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph Wilson.
I'm Jason Lin.
What a wonderful day!
There is no better way to start this episode.
What a wonderful day!
What a wonderful day!
Easily the most
Yes.
iconic thing to come out of this movie.
High key, though. The actor that does that played Blob in X-Men Origins.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
really?
thought you were going to say The Blob, and I was like,
No,
what?
That would have
not the
been
Blob,
amazing.
but X-Men Origins Blob.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, we are starting a new series today to round out the month of December on religion, the other taboo topic. And we are excited because, Joe, I think you've been itching to get to this one for a while.
Just a little fiend, just a little something.
So to catch our viewers up, we did the Planet of the Apes films back in May. We did the original and we did the three contemporary ones from the 2010s. And now we discussed on those episodes doing Kingdom at some point.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Yeah.
We've all seen it, and it fits perfectly into this topic of religion. And so, Joe, I'd love to know why you picked this one and what you're hoping to show us today in this conversation.
Yeah, funny enough, when I first saw this movie, it was in theaters, but I couldn't enjoy the experience because I had people on their phone sitting next to me and just like talking during the entire time. So I was like, okay, I got to wait for this to come out so I can rewatch it. Or I got to go back again to rewatch it. And watching it again and actually just being able to sit in it, I was really seeing a lot of like religious themes in it, tying to like how people interpret a name or interpret what can come from this name. And again, as we are Christians, I automatically think of Jesus,
Right.
And how people have through history used his name for different types of things, whether it's wars, political gain, whether it's like using his name in atrocities and stuff like that. And in this movie, there's this character that is experiencing this name in totally different ways. And I think of that as like someone new coming into the faith and experiencing like who this person named Jesus is in different types of ways. So then I start rewatching it again and kind of was like, okay, yeah, there's some things that like really tie into it. And again, I guess a disclaimer, I don't believe this is what the director was doing. This is just my interpretation of what I see through it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there must be enough there to warrant that interpretation.
How do you guys feel about the movie or just like first viewings or anything like that?
Birds are in the movie.
They
So
got birds.
if you guys have never been on Jason's Letterboxd profile,
No.
it is the greatest because apparently all movies are rated based on birds. And so this should be pretty high up.
and
But nope, sometimes that's not true.
depending on
Sometimes
the
I
movie with the
completely
birds.
abandon that.
Was this an accurate depiction of these eagles?
So I'm pretty sure these are golden eagles, and I mean they don't just bond with people like that unless I've been missing out. I thought it was a cool movie. It was interesting going from yelling out "no" whenever I'd see Caesar get hurt or shot or just I didn't have as much of an emotional connection with this movie. I'm just seeing like the legacy of what I cared about,
Yeah.
how that was interacted with. But I don't know, just to me it doesn't measure up to the other three.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, I wasn't really interested in this film because no Caesar, no Matt Reeves. Disney owned 20th Century Fox now making this movie.
That was one of my
That was kind of
questions.
like the three kind of strikes against it.
Yeah.
But I did have a little bit of a sense of relief when I did see that Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver were involved in it because they are the ones who created and spearheaded Rise trilogy, you know, like the Rise, Dawn, War, like.
Yeah.
But the movie did pleasantly surprise me. It was definitely better than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to rebuild after that. It's hard that you had something with Caesar and Andy Serkis that was so special.
Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't going to be easy to rebuild with a new cast of characters, mostly unknowns, and it was tough. But I do appreciate the effort. I do think there was a lot of effort to put in to try to get a continuation of the story going. I think it's a good way to continue the story. I actually think this film's fixed some problems I had with these reboot films as a whole. And I'll bring that up later, but some things we talked about in the Dawn and War episodes that I kind of was bummed and let down by, I actually think this film fixes. So that I wasn't expecting that, which is good. I think the biggest thing, like in terms of like an issue I had with it, is it's a Disney thing. Like Disney has a serious writing problem.
Yeah.
Like all their stuff in the last 4 to 5 years, like Marvel, Disney,
Star Wars,
like animated films, Pixar, Star Wars, Apes, the writing is just like not great.
Yeah.
It's like passable. It's not like bad writing, especially compared to like the 3 films that came before it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a writing guy. I'm really like want to see what's the screenplay, what's the story. This could have been like a really, really great movie from a writing perspective. But there's certain things where I'm just like, it needed more time to cook, which sounds weird because this movie came out, they took their time making this movie, but it really, really felt like some of the themes and ideas we're going to talk about, if they would have just done a few different things for what they were setting up earlier, that didn't really pay off by the time they got to the end.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. But I think that this is just a common Disney thing. I don't know what it is that's going on in that studio, but I just think their writing output is not good. But despite that, I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like, this is a good next step evolution for the story.
Yeah, no, that was mostly what I was going to say. I was going to ask if Disney made this because it felt like it.
Disney.
The tone is much lighter than
Yes.
the previous installment, which is not a bad thing because I thought the previous installment veered on too heavy. But the writing, Disney definitely has a formula.
Yeah.
It almost, the visual style and the whole feel of the movie reminded me of the new Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
Where it's just like this
same.
very it's what they do, it's
Yeah.
what they produce. They've mastered it, and that's what we get when we watch a Disney film.
Yeah.
So that was my question. This feels like Disney. It looks like Disney. I thought they could have went in an entirely new direction. They had a chance to start something brand new, and they went back to a few of the themes from Dawn and War, which again reminds me of Disney. Like, not even to bring up The Last Jedi, but they went back to something that is very safe.
Right.
It's their product. But I liked some of the characters. I think, again, because it's Disney, there is a little bit of that lacking of emotional investment to the characters. There's no Caesar, there's no Koba. Like, these characters were so strong, and they could have restarted something, and I don't know.
They're like stuck in the middle of it. It's like they want to move forward, but they're tied
moving
to
forward
the
in a
past.
very safe way.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the letterbox real quick? And
Yeah, I can do
Dive
the
into 'em.
letterboxed.
go for it.
No one can stop the rain. Several generations following Caesar's reign, apes, now the dominant species, live harmoniously while humans have been reduced to living in the shadows. As a new tyrannical ape leader builds his empire, one ape undertakes a harrowing journey that will cause him to question all he knows about the past and to make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. So yeah, I kind of want to go through this like as going through the characters and kind of as what I interpret some of these characters as. So the bird is the Holy Spirit, and I'll talk through that as well. Raka the disciple, Proxima the false prophet, Noah the new believer, and May has church hurt.
Church hurt.
So yeah. So as we're going through it, okay, so now we can go through it with the conversation. So the human character, the one that was helping Proxima.
William H. Macy.
That guy. We'll
I think it was
We need
Trevathan.
to
Yeah,
know.
Trevathan. I consider Trevathan the complacent believer. Trevathan again, has accepted the world he lives in, like in the sense of he knows what has happened. He knows the truth, but he's choosing to stay complacent.
Because he benefits in some way.
Exactly.
He's comfortable.
He survives.
He survives, but there's an opportunity for him to go, and he still chooses the route that is the comfortable route.
Yeah.
So I actually think that is, I know it's jumping ahead a bit, but I actually think that's one of the best moments of tension. So you have another human character, the girl, which May, thank you. So
A lot like Ray.
Ray, yes.
There's a few moments where I'm like, this feels familiar. It's all Disney though.
So-
It's real.
So with May, May is this human character that you learn can talk, which is I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know humans were still going to be able to talk, but I like that there's a few that still can.
Yeah.
There's some stuff later with humans that I'm kind of like, oh, it's a little dumb, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
But-
No, that's
but-
sparked.
Yeah. This thing for it, huh?
Yeah, but with May and him, the kind of tension that they have, right? Because he's trying to tell May when she's captured, like, just stay with the program, right? Just,
Because that's even what her mom told her, too, to stay silent.
Right.
I even want to talk
and
about
when
that
he
later.
tries to like talk her out of like going into this mission, she straight up murders him.
Like, murks him.
I was like, that's interesting. That is actually like the most interesting thing I think a character did the whole movie because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe they'll just take him out or something. I was like they'll
you're
probably
gonna
knock him out. But I was like, no, she straight up murders him.
But that is also an active choice, and defining who May's character is. May knows the truth as well, but she's actively fighting against it because of what has happened to her because of the truth.
Yeah.
So
She feels like she has to take matters into her own hands.
I think in that sense, again, there are a lot of people who have like gone through situations where they've been in church and then something happens to them.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't want anything to do with this whatsoever. So I'm going to just do what I want to do. I think of when she said, my mother taught me silence was safety. That is something like that goes on in churches. Women, they're even from when women weren't able to actively say things into the church.
I forbid a woman to speak.
Exactly. To even things that can happen now with like pastors that abuse their authority on women and then they tell their mothers or something like that and then their mothers tell them to keep quiet.
Right.
There are things that happen like that. So it's this world or what has become of this world due to like Caesar's actions in a sense have hurt her.
Right.
And now she wants to actively go against the world that has already been put in place.
Right.
So,
Well, Caesar's almost like a hybrid of like a Moses and a Christ figure. Almost like that lawgiver.
Yeah.
And so you've got like the order of Caesar, which is trying, right? That's where what's his name? Raqqa is a part of, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to understand Caesar. They're accusing Proxima of twisting Caesar's words. And so, like, that's easily the most interesting stuff about the film for me.
Yeah.
Is kind of looking at, okay, know the story of Caesar.
Exactly.
But how do those who were not there during that story, how are they reacting to it? How are they interpreting it?
Yeah, because that's with today's times as well. We were not there when Jesus was actually walking on earth. And we have things that are written and the things that there is trying to keep or the books of Caesar, the teachings of Caesar. But even now, we still see in part, which is another reason why it's just like with Raqqa, he's seeing in part. He doesn't know the full legacy of Caesar. He chooses to follow what Caesar says. Like, the humans were important to Caesar, so they're important to me. People are important to Jesus, so they're important to me.
Yeah.
So,
and it's the relationship between humans and apes that's the cornerstone of what Caesar stood for.
Yeah.
And that's where Proxima has a different understanding of what that really. Proxima is almost like Koba too.
Yeah.
In a way. But it's interesting because he's linking himself to Caesar. I wonder where the myth of Koba would fall. Like, where does Koba
fall in this?
Yeah.
But
that would be fascinating.
But Koba didn't have.
It would be.
It would be, but Koba's name doesn't have any power.
Right.
Caesar's name has power.
But it's interesting that it's Caesar's name that has the power, but Proxima is acting like Koba in Caesar's name, which that's church history for you right there. That's what happened is despite the fact that the Roman Empire collapses, Christianity begins to take over, like in terms of power, but yet they start acting like Rome.
Yep.
They start to become like the very thing that for hundreds of years they were saying, we're not going to be like this.
And the thing he's so interested in is the Roman Empire.
Koba would have some type of following. There's a lot of people that misinterpret the Bible to all different, like this is
extremes,
the Savior, this is the religion. Koba would have a following.
He would.
Yeah.
It would be dope if they explored in like further movies, but knowing Disney, they're probably not thinking like that.
Well, I mean, you look at War.
I know they're into nostalgia, so maybe they will.
But
look
happy
at-
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Jason.
No, you get. You look at Warren, like Koba's name has been blotted out almost.
Yeah.
Like it's something they're trying to all forget.
Yeah, true.
And so I think
That makes me feel sad for Koba.
No.
I know Koba did some bad things, but still,
Just be taken out of
there's
history.
love for Koba.
That he's been taken out of
He
history.
needs to have empathy for Koba.
Yeah.
some bad things.
Yeah, just some.
He said
some bad
some bad
Just a
things.
few.
It's all right. It's
No
just
big deal.
a handful of things.
How many ape not kill apes did he violate?
Caesar did too.
Yeah, Caesar did
Yeah.
too.
Even
So,
I think it was
Rocca?
Rocca.
Mm-hmm.
He was just gone so quick.
Yeah.
So early. And it's
That
like-
was tragic.
Yeah.
I really liked him.
It was tragic, but it didn't my heart did not feel the tragedy because
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time with him. I was just more like, if anything, my heart sank because now there's nothing really about Caesar that's left. It's just this.
Well, that's
vestige
part of my issue is I
Yeah.
think what they do with Rocca is really, really good, and it really develops. It pushes some things forward, but then
when it cuts off because there could have been even an interaction between Proxima and Rocca. Because
that's kind of what I was waiting for.
Because
Was
they
I
both
wanted
are-
I wanted more of the ideological tension of how do we interpret Caesar?
Yeah.
But I also think with that, it's because the main character is Noah. I think that's why they weren't trying to look at something like that. It's more, in my interpretation of it, he's experiencing what someone is saying about him, and then that person leaves out of their life. And now what is another person
Right,
that is saying in
right.
his life about who Caesar is? So he has to figure out who, even when they're all brought into the camp, and Noah's like, that's not Caesar. Like he already knew, in a sense, who Caesar was through Rocca, and now he's being tested to see if he's going to follow what this Proxima, this false prophet, we'll get through it, is saying about who Caesar is, compared to what he has learned through Rocca's actions.
Yeah. That's good. We'll get right back to the conversation in just a moment. But first, do you have a story that you've been waiting to tell? Many times on this podcast, I've talked about sharing your own story. But one of the things that I'm just as passionate about is helping you bring your creative fictional story to light. Recently, I had a friend and longtime listener of the podcast reach out discussing plans for a science fiction novel series that he's been working on for years. But he needed someone to be able to bounce these ideas off because sometimes the story could be so in our head and it can be difficult to get that onto paper, at least with your audience in mind. And I was able to listen and give constructive feedback for his story. And the thing that's key about a genre like science fiction is that the world building, while necessary and important, is secondary compared to creating compelling characters. Those are the science fiction stories that we find ourselves coming back to, like the Planet of the Apes films we're discussing. And so you have to be able to ground everything you do in compelling characters that we as human beings can connect and relate to in some way. And so that's what we spent time doing and really trying to get clarity over what is the story, not just the plot, but all of it, including the themes. What is it that he's really trying to get across and trying to laser focus in on what that story is. And so if you want someone that you can bounce those ideas off, if you're interested in a storytelling coach like myself, then go ahead and sign up in the link below for a free 30-minute consultation where we can begin to discuss these ideas, followed by an action plan and give feedback to your fictional project. I'm passionate about working with people who want to get their stories told, especially through writing and speaking. And although I teach lots of classes, this is one more opportunity where we can go more in depth in a one-on-one personalized setting and really help get that story to light. So if you're interested, act now, book that 30-minute consultation here in the show notes. And without further ado, let's get back to the conversation. there's a lot of speculation in this film about a cave. What's in the cave?
Yeah.
And May wants to get in the cave.
What's in the cave?
And
What's in the cave?
Proxima wants to
Oh,
get in the
God.
cave.
Want to get in that bunker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if there's a doll in this cave, this is all trying to be in canon with the original film.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were talking about how war, maybe it's not. Maybe it's trying to be its own thing. But then when I saw the doll and when I heard the line, there was a line that they said where we call all humans Nova. I'm like, boom, this is canon.
Yeah.
It's awesome to kind of see that middle journey between what we've seen with Caesar and what we know, where we know it's all heading. And we're seeing them try to like create a society.
Yeah.
And like what we see with Proxima, that kind of makes sense of like an in-between society of where it was just like Caesar and some apes hanging out in the jungle all the way to where they have museums and churches. Like this is like the in-between
Period
of
of it,
yes. This is almost like we're heading towards like this like kind of like feudal, medieval, like post-Roman, but not quite Renaissance era of apes. So
Yeah. It's a mixture.
I thought that was cool.
It's a mixture of like religion with like imperialism.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where I was looking for there.
Yeah.
Ape Renaissance goes wild.
I want that to be the
It's a
next
hard
film. I
title,
want to
yeah.
see apes like making music and
So
creating art.
I mean, they are creating their own culture with the Sun Eagles, right?
Mhm.
They have their
Yes.
own rituals. They have their own like ceremonies
I
Yeah.
like that
and
too.
coming of age.
they have their own laws that
Well,
even
they're a
in-
tribe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What laws did they have?
They had previous laws because they even Noah says in a line later that they knew the truth, but they didn't want to know the truth further.
Mm.
So they knew of the basic truth, but they didn't want to, I guess, adhere to it. So they made their own laws as well.
So that's why they call them Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first movie, how did it start again? They left Earth. Why? Because man just went crazy.
They were searching for something better. He was searching
What was
for
happening
something
on Earth? He just
better than Earth. I mean, Earth was on the brink of, nuclear war and just like all the typical Cold War era like speculation.
so like right now, he just our
Yeah.
society right now, and
Yeah.
he left. Okay,
just like, yep. And like because he volunteered, like there's a mission to go explore. He's like, I want to get out of here. So yeah, I'll do it.
How did you guys feel about her ending decision with Proxima and the gun?
Dude, what do you do in that situation, right?
You shoot the other apes.
She did.
She shot one ape.
She
You
had
mean-
she had a pistol.
the standoff with the
When they opened up the doors and then the tanks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I argue that she could have gotten away with like helping out Noah because again, they don't know what this thing is. Even if they go inside and try to find the other guns, you're like giving a gun to a baby. They're not going to know what to do with it. They're like, oh, and end up shooting themselves.
Who's
and
not
stuff
gonna
like-
know?
No, they're gonna know real quick.
Proxima?
They're gonna know
how
real
to,
quick.
how to
Yeah.
do the machinery and stuff like that.
Yes.
I don't-
What if you found something? We would figure it out.
Oh, that's
intelligent.
okay.
They learn
That's-
how
yeah,
to
that's-
domesticate eagles
Yeah.
regularly. Yeah,
It'd
they're
take them-
gonna
it'd
find
take them a
out.
day.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd take them an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're finding out.
Okay.
They're finding out how to use
Aren't
a
they
tank.
riding horses?
They have no unity. They've assimilated into Caesar.
Well, I
it's
think-
not till the end that they go, "Oh yeah, we're the Eagle Clan. Duh, let's all sing so the Eagles attack Proxima all at once because this is a Disney movie." And then he falls off a ledge and dies because this is a Disney movie.
That's a 3-star review, folks.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what I put.
That's why I said it. Yeah.
I do think my big problem is that with the humans, when you see that she flees and there's all these humans that have all this like insane knowledge,
yeah.
We're getting there already.
technology.
We're
Well,
getting-
just
we're
we're
talking
talking about
about
the
humans,
humans,
yeah.
and then we're
okay. 'cause
like,
got
I
some
was
stuff
like,
to say.
I kind of sighed and I looked at my dad and Tori and I was like, are we really doing more apes versus human
humans.
stuff?
Mhm.
I'm tired of it. Like I thought we did a whole trilogy of it,
Yes.
and it was done.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a few humans being here and there out there trying to like make it. And I kind of like, I was like thinking of like the idea of like, oh, what if the humans are kind of like apes just in the wild in their own little like, right? I was like, that could be awesome. But no, now there's like this big technological and that they all magically know how to use. And I was like, that's probably what they're setting up for
It's
in the
the-
next films.
it is
And I
what
was
the
like,
force
I
part of
was
the
way
movies.
more interested in this being a movie, which is what 3/4 of the movie led me to believe. This is why I kind of felt like it lied to me. Was like 3/4 of the movie is like, this movie is going to be about the internal conflict of apes. How do apes establish society? How does religion play a role? And now they're setting it up to where it's going to be another ape versus human showdown. And if that's the direction they go, I'm out.
Yeah.
But if they lean harder into the ape internal conflict, I'll be back in.
See, and if I were to write the sequel, it would be a both and. If we have to have the humans in it, I want the humans to learn of Caesar's teachings as well. And so that is what would unite all of them if there was a conflict or something like that. Like May learning through her interaction with Rocka and Noah, Caesar's teachings of like community and stuff like that. Because when Rocka dies, he doesn't say ape together strong. He says together strong.
Right.
Because we're moving on from this point of just like we're separating. We're not separate anymore. We just need to be united. So I would think that would be the best way to do it. But again, we just got to wait and see for these next two movies how and what direction they go.
No one else thought that the apes were going into space.
No,
because
soon.
They have the telescope though, so
they do.
Yeah, so
They're
Noah
fascinated.
and his friend look up into the stars with the telescope. I was like, are they going into space looking for a new race?
That's
would
going to be
actually-
the Planet of the Apes.
That would actually be a
number
pretty dope
12.
concept. So they go
I thought they were twisting it on their head.
Yeah.
Well, Noah and May look up into the sky at the same time, but Noah has the telescope.
Yeah, I thought they were just referencing like the astronauts because
I thought it'd be super cool if the apes were now traveling hyperspeed through space and landing on another planet.
Well, that would be a fun movie. That'd be that wouldn't be a safe Disney movie.
no.
Planet of the Humans.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
What's the time period this takes place after?
it says
Caesar?
several generations.
Several generations.
Hundreds of years.
Hundreds
Yeah.
of years? Oh,
Yeah.
hundreds of years.
Yeah, I would say hundreds.
How do
of
they
years.
have genes? How do they still have genes? Is Levi's just that good of a brand that it just lasts? They're just
For
finding
hundreds of
hand-me-down
years?
jeans for hundreds of years? They're all in like modern clothing still. Are they making these? Is there a denim seamstress? Like you see the people at the end, it's just like it looks like nothing changed. Like they just time traveled. Oh, yep. Well, we have the beep boop 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 all the day. You got
Yeah.
you got the plot point. Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
We're gonna need this for the next movie.
Yep.
This is good. This is what we needed. Yep. So it's like we have this group of humans that devolved
Yeah.
because they lost their speaking, but somehow we have these are perfectly fine. They look like
Yeah, see,
they
that's my
did
big
300
problem,
years
too.
ago. It's
Yeah.
like they just grabbed a bunch of people off the street and said, "All right, go into this little facility now, and you're going to be the surviving humans." It's pretty immersion breaking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if
mean,
they
yeah.
had crudely like remade clothing, I would
Mhm.
understand that, but just it was just weird.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you on the point of if this is still a humans versus apes thing, I'm like I don't know how, but yeah.
Yeah.
But how are they going to embrace Caesar's teaching right before they're all wiped out? Because
The humans?
they're going to be wiped. The race of speaking intelligent humans is going to be wiped out. If we're building to Planet of
The apes. Yeah.
it has to happen. And I don't know where we're going now with this, but at the end with May and Noah, it almost is feeling like Caesar is being thrown away here.
I agree because I think going back to the writing, what I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
the big moment I was waiting for was like, okay, they're going to defeat Proxima and surely Noah is going to like initiate or at least mention like something about we got to learn the true teachings of Caesar.
Mhm.
You know?
Nothing. It's dropped. Like the plot point is dropped completely.
Well, it's
Here,
not-
you take this.
No, it's not dropped because he is giving that symbol out. He still had the symbol at the end, and that symbol represents
Yeah.
Caesar.
yes.
So he still was just like, hey.
He gave it to May.
Yeah, he gave
When
it
he
to
gave
May.
it to May.
He was like, and May came to shoot him. So again,
Right.
she was
May
ready.
did not
Yeah,
come.
She was
She was
ready.
ready.
She was
ready.
scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, but Noah gave it that confidence to trust him with the symbol. He's
To
given
trust
that.
Caesar.
Yeah, thank you. She trusts
Okay.
Caesar,
Mm.
and that is the uniting fact because again, Rocka like has taught them
Right.
both through his actions who Caesar was.
Right.
Not his words,
Yeah.
through his actions.
Yeah.
And so
So I guess it is there.
yeah, so with that, he's
Alright.
given that to her, and that's why they're both looking up into the sky.
Mm.
I feel like they're trying to look for a better future with each other.
Yeah.
But it's that we got to both give out a bridge. Noah gave that bridge.
Mhm.
And again, that's why I think he's a new believer. He's learning. He just learned who this person named Caesar is. And he's trying to incorporate that with the rest of his life and what his life was before.
Well, when they look up into the sky, I'm not sure if they're looking for a future together. I think it ties into the first film where they're looking for a better race than man.
Yes.
And neither race has found to be better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the climax is May saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the movie ends with both them looking up to the sky, and the installment of the whole series with, we haven't found a better race. We don't know what to do. There is no reconciliation.
Yeah.
This is where we are. And we don't know what's coming next. Humans now, we're back in the same spot. Humans are now in Levi's, in their whole technologically, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it really comes down to, we're looking up still 80 years later, and we still don't know or have an answer.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good, yeah.
I appreciate that. I can see that better.
What do you guys think? Do you think Noah is keeping Caesar's teachings actually, or is he just acknowledging it? I don't personally feel like he's intending to perpetuate the legacy of Caesar.
I think he has something. Like he has something he learned
He's a
from
brand
Raka.
new-
Yes.
he is.
I think if we go with him as like the new disciple, right? The new believer, and he is taking what he has, but he's still, he's still anchored in his his
roots,
tribe, his
innocent,
tradition,
his
his roots, right?
yeah.
So it's going to be like him kind of trying to see, how do I interpret Caesar's teachings in light of my own circumstance, in light of where the world is at. And I mean, that's what we do with our religion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like when you first become, like a believer or a convert to a religion, it's not like you've just like
immediately are just like, I know everything now.
yeah. And you might not even feel like you're all in at first, I think some people are, and some people it takes time to come into it.
Especially if you saw somebody like as Proxima and he's saying that this person, Caesar, is like a warmonger, then it's like, okay, well, what do I do with this
Right.
information?
But I did find it interesting because his name's Noah. And I said
there's
at
a
the beginning of the movie, I'm like, if there's a flood in this movie, it's going to be laid on thick. And there is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I see what the flood is doing, right? This is going to be, like,
It's like washing away the sin of humans in the past of war.
well, I was
All
also
the
going to
tanks,
say
all the
it's
weapons.
also washing away like what Proxima stood for.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an opportunity to let's try again.
Yep.
Which I think it would have been nice to see a little more development before we get there, but like in terms of films. But because I will say that Proxima, is it Proxima or Proximus?
Proxima.
Okay. I do think that Proxima was easily the most interesting aspect of the movie. I thought whoever did that, like the motion capture, the acting, like the voice, all that I thought was great. I wanted more of him as an antagonist, but I feel like he was good because he very much was a very good like communicator. He was very charismatic. But then the scene when he like brings Noah up and he's kind of like, oh, Noah, you're smart. I need smart apes. All those like interactions and the way that you kind of
It feels like grooming. He's grooming.
Yes. And I just thought like, oh my gosh, this is kind of like the archetypal, if you will, like kind of you said false prophet earlier, right? The one who, and we see these people in the world today, the ones who groom for their like cult,
Their cause.
for their cause.
Yeah.
And even like the ways he tries to manipulate, the ways he tries to tempt, the way that he's like prone to like quick lapses of anger.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's very
also
charismatic, but he will flip like on a dime. He'll be like, she didn't tell you. She didn't tell you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought his scenes were great. I thought he was great. I wanted more of him.
Yeah.
I still don't believe that he actually converted to Caesarism or whatever. I feel like he has taken, okay, this is a good thing.
I think,
but he's taking this learning and applying it to his clan, but it's not the prominent belief because, and this could have been a great moment too, Proxima has killed apes, right?
Yeah.
And no one has called him out on this or like, hey, this is wrong. Like no one, like he never ever gets called out. That doesn't become a point anymore. It almost feels like the whole thing about Caesar kind of gets dropped.
Well, he has the
end.
line where he says that is the law, but the law is wrong, referring to how Proxima is interpreting it, right?
That and
But no one brings it to Proxima.
Right. I agree. I agree. I was waiting for that
They
moment
just go
too.
for let's have all the eagles attack him.
Right.
Like, it's just kind of, it feels Like,
I was
but that's-
I was
very happy
waiting
with
for the
it.
ideological debate somehow, and when they killed Raka, I said, okay, maybe Noah is going to stand up for that, but it never really happened. It kind of turned into like a physical confrontation.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for a more ideological.
But the bird represents all of the what's called the ideas of those, because again, the bird didn't accept him until he realized that the law was wrong and what the way Caesar has been, that what he has interpreted from the correct teachings of Caesar are the correct way to go, and that's when the eagle actually lands on him.
Yeah.
So he still is using what he's been taught, and
Right.
yeah, in still a physical sense. But the entire time, as he's been going on this journey, the eagle has been going ahead of him. It was his father's eagle. The father still knew the truth. He just didn't want to incorporate it with the clan. So now that he's actually incorporating it with the truth, he is now accepted with the eagle, and then he uses that eagle and what he's learned from his clan as well. It's again, they're binding it together to defeat Proxima. And you like birds, Jason.
Look, you can't just do that. I feel like, I don't know, something just doesn't sit right about this.
It's just
Yes, yeah.
it's
I have to
just it
ruminate
needed
on it
the
more.
script just I think needed another
Another little
it needed some tweaking, because I think like when you watch Dawn, it is very clear what Dawn is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no ambiguity there. When you watch War, we actually had quite a debate about what War actually is. And I feel like this is kind of like War. Like, I love War,
Yeah.
but I will admit it's murky and it's kind of falters.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of falls in the same category.
I feel like how I felt
War
about
was
War.
more ambitious. This is not very ambitious at all.
It's safe.
Yeah.
This makes War look
I was gonna
really
say
good.
It's
No,
very,
no.
Yeah.
War, I misspoke. I think War is good. I actually
Yeah.
like it probably more than you guys like War. But
I get what you
but this
mean.
makes it look even better.
Because War wasn't
Because it's got a heart. It's got a heart. It's
Yes.
got a very clear, intentional, emotional core.
Yeah. Just the end with Caesar will show you that
Yeah.
100%. It definitely was there, but I just really I don't know that it didn't hit that.
But I also
home that well with
feel
me.
like we got to think if maybe this was like Rise, and now we were talking about it without the complete trilogy of Caesar, that we would have different arguments of like where things are going to lead. We're still seeing it in part,
Yeah,
and you
it's
still
still unfolding.
Yeah, and
So are you basically saying that if this is the Force Awakens of apes, we're about to get
hit Last
the
Jedi.
Last Jedi of apes films?
Well, we got something to look forward to then. Well, I'm sorry. We got some originality and bold voices coming now.
that would
Get Ryan
I'm not gonna-
Johnson to make the next one.
Would you like Ryan Johnson to?
Ryan Johnson's an amazing director. If he made an Apes film, it would be awesome, and you guys know it.
So yeah, I feel like we're still seeing.
That's a truth. I'm sorry.
I love that though.
Noah's gonna have his hand out to May. You're still
Holding on.
Let go.
Embrace Caesar.
There's a hey.
No, he's
May
gonna
looks
tell
a
her to
lot
let go of
Ray,
Caesar.
Acts a lot like Ray. That could happen. It's Disney.
Yeah.
That's got something coming probably.
The burning trees in the background.
That's awesome. I kind of hope in the next one that Noah goes and finds Raka's like,
Tribe.
people. Yes. And I wonder if maybe he brings them in to
And then
his
they-
tribe.
and then they start.
and they
like,
start
manipulating.
taking over. But again, they're like, we're the ones who have the true teachings of Caesar.
Exactly,
So
so
you
let
have
me-
to let us be Disney. If you're listening to
High
this
key.
episode, please hire us to write the script.
We
We
would
will
write-
write your script
Hold
for
on,
this.
hold on.
Write your script.
Caesar.
That would be sick,
That-
though.
yeah.
To get to the Planet of the Apes, Caesar's mythology has to die.
It does.
has to.
It does.
Because it completely gets replaced. I think there was a lawbringer,
no,
right?
it's-
But the
yeah,
lawbringer
but it's
is
a-
in the image of an orangutan.
Mhm.
So it gets changed at
Yes.
some point.
Right.
If this is how we're doing it.
Yeah.
If this is how we're leading
So
up.
they still kept the teachings of Caesar. They're just now
I
using
gotta
it.
watch that movie.
Because again, if it's that the
Wow.
orangutan, the orangutan is like the new figure of what represents who Caesar was.
What's at the top of the class system?
Are the orangutans
In the original, yeah.
If it's going to the original, then a whole lot of bad stuff happens.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like, why would I watch 5 more movies that only like
it gets
the
worse.
story devolves into worse and worse ideology?
I think if they're trying to like tell this, and I don't think Disney's really trying to do this, but if they're trying to tell the story of like church history,
Mhm.
because I think like the original Planet of the Apes film has a huge religious commentary going in it, huge, and I feel like Kingdom is trying to set up that same commentary. So if we're taking that journey, I think that would be really fascinating. But I don't know if that's what they want to do. So I got nothing else. Anything else, Joe, that you want to add? Or
Not a lot of hope in that journey.
Yeah, it sounds sad.
But think about it, that's a lot of movies
of just
that end without a lot of hope, or
Yeah.
just cliffhangers looking into the sky.
So then how does this help us live a meaningful story?
well,
yeah, Joe.
the last thing that Noah tells May is, we will build our home stronger from what we've learned. If Rocco was here, he would tell us how Caesar would know what to say on this matter. And then he gives her the symbol. So again, we can look at the ending of this, at least with this film,
Yeah.
of Noah using from the teachings of what he's learned into his new and day life and trying to build a bridge with someone that knows the truth and is trying to regain something back because of the truth of the world that she's in. So that would be my interpretation of what the ending is. Hopefully there is a hope there because there's still a reaching out. But yeah, the last thing I want to say, if you guys remember the intro that I did, I did a little revamp of it as well.
Yes. All right.
So, since the fall of man, humans have been growing further away from God, their sin being their downfall. Religious leaders and enemies of God subjugating his people, spinning a false narrative of who God is and confining them to laws. At the height of humanity's pride and arrogance, God sent his only son to rise up and sacrifice himself for his people. His name was Jesus. I like this movie, and this is what I got from this movie.
That's awesome, Joe.
I think it was worth
I
it
think-
just for you to say this.
I had to get all the ideas together to confine it to the summary.
Yeah. But it's good. No, it's a good conversation about the way we interpret, right? Because we have all these denominations and we're so splintered as like Christians. And we're all just trying to make sense of Jesus. And I like this idea in Apes of they're trying to make sense of Caesar, who the interesting thing about Caesar is that Caesar is actually kind of not a Jesus.
Yeah.
He's more like a Moses where
mhm.
he's got that anger buried deep down, right? He's more of the laws there. So he's more of a Moses figure than a Christ figure.
Yeah.
But I think it still applies to us as well in terms of Christianity and how we interpret Jesus. So that was good. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be
Thanks,
back
Joe.
next week for another pick for religion, a very, very different kind of film from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Thank you so much. And until next time,
Have a wonderful day.
thank you for listening to the Live a Meaningful Story podcast, produced by All Things Narrative. If you'd like to learn more about our coaching, workshops, events, please check out allthingsnarrative.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at All Things Narrative. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and tune in next time as we continue exploring the stories we love and the stories we live. Take care.